Hello and welcome back to another episode of the House of Hoosier podcast presented by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. I'm Ian Plaskoff, joined as always by Noah Gerkey, and we are going to talk all things Bethune-Cookman, all things where Indiana stands right now. A little quick hitter for you as Indiana will open Big Ten play on Wednesday against Minnesota. Indiana 7-0, and the last time, Noah, they were 7-0, what happened?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know.
Went to the tournament.
Well,
They're
they're
looking
trending
good.
towards the right direction then.
Things are looking good. Indiana scored 100 points for the third time this season. Tell that to a fan of a Mike Woodson coached Indiana team, they would probably think you're insane. But here we are with Darren DeVries leading this offense. 100 to 56 win over Bethune-Cookman on Saturday. Neither of us were there. I was at Rossium for the bucket game. Got back to my house at 2:30 in the morning, finished writing at 4:30 in the morning, and then got up because my family wanted to have people over for the Ohio State Michigan game the next morning. So that was my story. How about you?
Quick turnaround. I was also at the Bucky game, being from Lafayette. I went back for that, and then I was at a family Thanksgiving sort of thing. So I also did not get a chance to watch. However, we both went and watched the extended highlights of the contest, and we looked at the box score, which is what a lot of fans surely did because we talked about earlier in the week how we weren't sure what the crowd was going to be like. Seemed to be okay based on the extended highlight view. We can't really gauge much from that. But just like most of you, if you didn't get a chance to watch it, I hope that we are somewhat of a recap.
I went the route of the condensed game. That's my go-to.
There's one of the accounts on YouTube puts like an extended highlight, like a 24-minute extended highlight that I watched. It's essentially just every made basket, I think, is what it is. But I couldn't find the condensed game on anywhere, so I went with the YouTube version.
Well, there were a lot of made shots in this game, and many of them by Indiana. Hoosiers put up 100 points, five double-figure scorers. Tucker DeVries led all scorers with 20 points, 6 of 12 from the field, 5 of 10 from the three. That shouldn't come as a surprise at this point. Lamar Wilkerson, a little bit of an interesting stat line, 7 of 15 from the field, 1 of 8 from the three, but he still put up 18 points with 3 rebounds, 3 assists. And then three double figure scores off the bench. Sam Alexis, Trent Sisley, and Nick Dorn for the first time this season in double figures. I've talked about Nick Dorn as an X factor to this team. I think he can extend the way this bench plays with the shooting threat and also when he mixes back in with the starters. Nick Dorn, 4 or 5 from three, looked really comfortable, and it was a really good sight to see.
Even on the defensive end too, which is where probably a little bit of the concern would come from coming off of an injury, trying to keep the legs underneath you, be able to defend at a high level. And he did it well. And the thing that I liked most about his game is the confidence when he touches the basketball. So I think it was three of the four makes that he had where he was catching and shooting. There was no hesitation, there was no dribbling. It was catch, put it up, we're knocking it down. And having that shooter off the bench, we talked a few episodes ago, where was the bench scoring going to come from when you have to take a DeVries out, a Wilkerson out, and you're relying on an offensive identity? Well, Sisley stepped up as a scorer of recent. Nick Dorn shooting adds another ability, and Sam Alexis has been playing as well as anybody on the team, especially in his limited minutes that we've seen at certain points in the season. The bench is starting to round out into formation, and then of course you got Ristich and Drake, who we're going to talk about later, just warmed up in the game too, getting there. The bench is starting to round into formation after a starting lineup that's already doing pretty good things offensively.
Yeah, you think about previous Indiana teams and you think that they're very top heavy. With Trace Jackson Davis, you think about a Khalil Ware type of team. You look at the Umar Ballo type team from last year, and there isn't much balance in the score sheet. This Indiana team has five players averaging 10 or more points per game. Trent Sisley's right there at 9.6 to follow, and then Nick Dorn is on the rise. He's at 5.8 points per game in only 11 minutes per game. You have DeVries at 18, Wilkerson at about 17, Conaway at about 12, Reed Bailey at about 11, and Sam Alexis 10 and a half, with Trent Sisley at 9.6. That is unheard of in recent years of Indiana basketball, and the length that this roster has to go, and we always say it that anybody can score and it could be anybody's day on any given game, but these numbers definitely show it.
Yeah, it's not just in modern Indiana basketball, it's modern kind of everyday basketball. Normally teams have that go-to guy that's getting 25, 24 points a night, and everybody else is sort of like trailing behind. Indiana's got 5 to 6 guys, potentially 7 when you add Dorn in with extended minutes, that could all go get a basket at any point in the game. It makes them that much harder to defend because every single person we've named this year can step out and make the 3-point shot as well. Sicily's knocked a few down. Alexis has. Bailey's shown the threat. They can spread you out, and when you have guys who just catch and shoot like a Wilkerson, a DeVries, a Dorn, and guys that can get to the rim in certain ways like Connerway, and Alexis is aggressive on the boards, and Bailey's one of the more efficient players down low for Indiana when he gets there. There's a lot of ways they can attack you offensively, but defensively as well. You look at the guys that are coming in off the bench, they're athletic and they defend at a high level. It's a plug and place type of system for Indiana. They take a starter out and you insert another offensive threat and a defensive weapon at the same time.
I'm just going to go down the stat sheet with a bunch of different categories and show how cohesive this team is in the numbers. So we just did points. Rebounds, 5.4, you don't even need to know the names. 5.4, 2.7, 3.4, 4.1, 6.4, 5.1, 4.0 among the main players. In three-point percentage, 44.1, 41.2, 50, 50, 36.8, 40, 37.5. And I mean, free throws are basically the same. Field goal percentage, turnovers, the max is Connerway with 2.6. There's only two other players with over one turnover a game for a team that's averaging 9.7 turnovers a game. Um, Keeping that mark under 10 is unbelievable. Um, Same thing applies to the steals. Same thing applies to the blocks. This team is cohesive. Everybody plays their part. Yeah, they don't have a dominant rebounder or a guy that will assist the ball, you know, 10 times a game or a guy that'll block two shots a game, but everybody does a little bit of everything. And that's how this team is built, and that's how this team is 7-0.
Well, one of the biggest concerns coming in was how undersized that they were coming into the season, how they were going to rebound. And we were like, well, Bailey and Alexis are going to have to step up and rebound more, but it's going to have to be the guards too. And it's a collective effort at the moment. Alexis does lead the team in rebounds, and DeVries is behind him, and Sicily and Bailey. Enright 4 boards, Connerway 3.5, Wilkerson 3. Like that's what you need, especially in nights where the bigs that you're facing are more physical than your bigs or bigger than your bigs. Everyone has to rebound collectively, and they've been able to do that, averaging around 40 rebounds a game. The offensive rebounding issues have like been there. They've allowed offensive rebounds to teams, but of recent, like they've made enough shots, they've rebounded well enough to stay out of that, and they also forced a lot of turnovers without giving the basketball away, which is important.
Yeah, and the collective effort is how this team was designed. I'm in the middle of looking something up right now. This team has hit 74 threes already. And I am curious to see what last year's team did in the entire season. Um, the percentage that this team is hitting 74 threes at is no blemish either. It's about 38%. Um,
Last year's team made 203 3-point attempts.
200,
203
200.
3-point attempts.
Yeah, this team is on pace for, I mean, they're going to clear that number by a landslide. And they're 7 games in and already at 70 whatever out of the 203. Stylistically, I mean, the attempts, I think they're over 100, almost at 200 attempts. Yeah, 196 through the first 7 games. The only game I can think of where three-point attempts were noticeable last year were Nebraska and maybe at Illinois, I think were the two.
Yeah, those are the main two that you think of. And right now, when you look at 3-point makes per game, Indiana's 34th, which like is a long way down, but that's 10 and a half threes a game is what they're averaging. And that's miles better than what they were doing at least last year or a few years ago in a long time. And they're up there in percentage too. They're knocking down about, I think it was 36% of the time, if I saw that right. 38% of the time, roughly. They're hitting it at a high clip. And That's sort of the identity of this offense is we're going to hunt the 3-point shot and we're going to work around that. And we've said it time and time again this year. It's fun. It's fun to watch this team play basketball. It's fun to watch this team on offense, and it's fun to see 3-pointers go in. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, the way these shots are getting created, I mean, you think about behind the back passes, half court lobs, fast ball movement. It's not the throw it in the post and wait for everybody to collapse and kick it back out. We've said it all year long, modern and it works, and it has led to five double figure scores, averaging double figure scores through the first 7 games, and a team that's averaging about 90 points per game, with Big Ten play looming, couple more non-conference games as well. And I'll say it. I don't think this team has truly been tested yet. I didn't think K-State was very good going into that game. Marquette is obviously going through the ringer right now. Um, and
I looked, the first net rankings came out, and we're going to talk about it later, but I saw Indiana had a quad three game, and I was, who is possibly the quad three team? I looked at Milwaukee's Ken Palm. I looked at Marquette is 167th in the Ken Palm rankings. They are having a season, to say the least. Not what you expect scheduling them going into the year with the Shaka Smart coach team, but the initial net rankings have them at 167.
not good. So yeah, that helps my point. I don't think this team has been challenged. Sure, K-State's a good opponent. They'll probably be a mid-tier Big 12 team. That's my guess. Um, but Minnesota at the barn, sure, Minnesota's not great either, but it's a road Big Ten game. We know how those are. And then you see Louisville at Gamebridge. And then the Saturday after that, you see Penn State that next week at home. And then you see Kentucky at Rupp, which notably now has a broadcast crew of, I believe, Dave Fleming, Dick Vitale, and Charles Barkley. Or maybe it's Dave O'Brien.
It's
So
one of those two, but I did see that both Dickie V and Charles Barkley are on the call.
what a tandem there. I mean, I have
Yeah,
no
that's probably the
idea.
best. It's probably the best way to say it. It'll be interesting. Like it'll be exciting. Um, I like it. It's a cool mix. I'm not sure how I feel until I actually get to see them. They're two different personalities. I don't know if it is Fleming or O'Brien, if you could confirm that, because that I like Fleming a lot. I think he's really good. But Charles Barkley, we already know he's a character, and Dickie V is one of the best there's ever been. So that'll be a really, really fun game and a really fun environment. And you mentioned them not being tested. The one thing I hope they don't do is they don't overlook Minnesota. And this doesn't seem like a team that's going to do that. However, when you do see number six Louisville on Saturday, with all that's going to be going on Saturday, now with the Big Ten football championship, Indiana being in that, I hope this Indiana team just doesn't try to sleepwalk past Minnesota on the road.
Yeah, the barn is always a tough place to play. Minnesota is on the decline, we'll say. Won their first 2 games over Gardner-Webb and Alcorn State, lost at Missouri by 23, beat Green Bay in overtime, beat Chicago State by 12, and then since then, home losses to San Francisco, Stanford, and Santa Clara, all by well, they gave up 72 plus to all three of those teams. Lost by 12 to San Francisco, lost by 4 to Stanford, and lost by 11 to Santa Clara.
They're an interesting team. Of course, in the Big Ten, they always seem to play people better, and the barn is difficult. They got the elevated floor still, don't they?
Yeah.
Kind of like in the Final Four. That's always cool. If it wasn't a Wednesday night and a 10-hour drive, I'd think about making the trip up to the barn. They've got a rough start to the Big Ten schedule too. They get Indiana and they go to Mackey Arena. So it's already been an interesting start for Minnesota. Again, my main focus is Indiana doesn't sleepwalk past Minnesota or else they somehow get caught because we already know the emphasis is on that Louisville game. We already know the focus is going to be on Kentucky coming up in 2 weeks as well. Take care of your first two conference games because the rest of their conference schedule, when they get back off of the finishing the non-conference slate, is tough, and they're going to need all the conference wins they can get when it comes getting to push towards the top.
I should clear it up. Minnesota was playing in the Acrisure Invitational in Palm Springs, California. So that's why you're seeing all those California teams. I thought it would be the same thing for Bethune-Cookman. Energy would be low. It's after Thanksgiving, it's during the college football slate. Um, would this team come out a little sluggish like we've seen Indiana teams do before? And the answer was clearly no. They came out of the gate firing and led by double figures for like 33 out of the 40 minutes, I think. Um, sure, Bethune-Cookman isn't the greatest opponent, but still, Indiana struggled with Incarnate Word. And at a point in the first half and a little bit in the second, struggled against Lindenwood. So it was really good to see that refreshing against a team like Bethune-Cookman and just pound them like you're supposed to. And when you schedule these lower non-conference opponents, getting those massive wins are huge for the computer rankings.
And as you mentioned, the computer rankings, the net rankings, like I mentioned with Marquette earlier, came out and Indiana ranks
11, double.
11th in the country. Not in the Big Ten, they're 11th in the country to start the year. And the computers, of course, the net rankings are those quad one, quad two, quad three, quad four. They love the blowouts, all the numbers, how much you win by this and that goes really big into their rankings. But Indiana is, I think they're sixth amongst Big Ten teams, right?
That I don't know.
Something like that. Let's see. Michigan, Purdue, Michigan State, Indiana. They're fourth amongst Big Ten teams.
Michigan, I am scared.
Yeah, they look good. Michigan looks really good.
I I watched Michigan at the Players era, and ooh, that
They
Gonzaga
are
game was.
they are a wagon. They look really good. They're number one in the net ranking, and for good reason. When you beat Auburn by 30 and Gonzaga by 40, the computers are going to love you. So they might be at number one for a while. And looking at their schedule, they might be undefeated for a while in their slate. They are very, very good. The transfer they got, I think, from UAB was Yaxel Landenborg from UAB. He
Yep.
is really, really good, really talented, really smart player, knocks down field goals at a high clip. He's a huge piece for Dusty May and that team. They're scary.
Long-term look at this, but Indiana will go to Ann Arbor. Michigan will not come to Assembly Hall. I think that game is sometime in February. Sounds right.
Yeah, they get Michigan and Michigan State
They're
in a
both on
span of a
Tuesday.
week. Yeah, they're both on the road in a span of a week. They do get Michigan State at home though.
Yep.
But I
Well,
mean,
right now,
they've got Michigan
Indiana,
on the road, Michigan State on the road, UCLA on the road, USC on the road, and Illinois on the road.
take those wins now while you have them.
Yeah, that's you never know in the Big Ten, but those are some very and Purdue on the road. Didn't mention them yet, but Purdue on the road as well. That's a gauntlet getting towards the back half.
Right now, Indiana's at 11 in the net, as we said, 19 in the Ken Palm, and 22 in the AP. So, we don't, those numbers are all a little different, but you can kind of gauge where this team is among other teams in the country. And I'll say it, I think this is much higher than I expected this early in the season. I thought it would take a little bit into Big Ten play for this team to start getting ranked, but not going to complain.
No, I'm not going to complain either. And my prediction earlier in the year was the top 15 at some point, and I didn't talk about the non-conference games. I talked about the conference slate and how if you knock off a few of those conference teams, you're probably ranked. But the computers love them. They look dominant, like a 44-point win against Bethune-Cookman, who took Auburn down to the wire. I know they dropped some other games, but this is a talented enough team that they can keep it close. And Indiana didn't deal with foul trouble, didn't turn it over, scored 100 points, made 12 three-point shots. They're doing everything that you need to do to become a ranked basketball team without necessarily playing those high major conference or non-conference games.
Yeah, the Big Ten slate is going to pick up. First one on Wednesday at the Barn in Minneapolis, Minnesota. On the year, as we said, is not great. They are 4-4, led by a 6'7" senior guard in Cade Tyson, who averages 22.4 points per game, 4.3 rebounds a game, and he shoots over 40% from three. So it's a very Minnesota thing to have one guy that kind of commands your entire offense. It was Dawson Garcia last year. This year it's Cade Tyson. And if Indiana can stop him, you probably think you feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, it was Dustin Garcia for like 3 years in a row. And then I think Jamison Battle before him,
Yeah.
maybe. Sounds right. And
Yep.
then they had Oturu, that center, Daniel Oturu for a while. Yeah, it was the same thing with Kansas State and PJ Haggerty, which like if you kind of like lock him down, everybody else gets their points because of helping off of Haggerty and how he distributes the basketball. So yeah, if you shut down Tyson, you probably feel pretty good about your outcome in that game. I would imagine it's one of Conaway or Enright getting the matchup there.
Connerway would provide a little more height, but I would trust Connor Enright more in that situation. Um, Jalen Crocker Johnson, a 6'8" forward, is the only other player on this Minnesota team that averages double figures, 12.4 points per game. He's also the leading rebounder at 9.1 rebounds a game. After that, nobody above 10 points per game, two guys above nine, and everybody else at below seven. So it is really the Cade Tyson show. Crocker Johnson will mix in there down low in the paint, and I think that matches up well with Indiana just because this team is so long, so balanced, is so deep, and who knows, maybe we'll see a little bit of Ristich and maybe we'll see a little bit of Jason Drake, but I doubt it. We'll see. We'll see.
I think the plan should be to like keep working them back in, and then when you get back off of the Kentucky game, I think they've got Siena and Chicago State. Maybe try to get them into one of those two games, work them into the offense a little bit because it's Big Ten play. No matter who you're playing, this is a conference game that's going to matter. Well, all conference games matter, and then you got Louisville and Kentucky mixed in there as well. So it's a matter of the guys that you figured out what you have should be what we're rolling with right now. And then you try to work those guys in through the rotation when you can, because Ristich and Drake are both very talented players, and they add certainly different dynamics both on the offensive and defensive end, especially in Ristich's playmaking ability. He is such a smart passer and really good ball handler. And I think you need to work those guys in after you get through this 4 game stretch. Don't mess with what's working right now because it's got you high in the rankings, high in the computer rankings, and high on the scoreboard as well every single game.
My keys for this game against Minnesota, I've got two of them. One is, can you continue to shoot the three ball well on the road? And two, this will be the first true road test, right? Yeah.
Yes, first road test.
First true road game. Can you shoot the three ball well? And two, first Big Ten game, can you stay out of foul trouble? And that's something that I am very worried about with this team, especially when it's not fully healthy. Um, but if Indiana is able to continue the recipe of hitting the three and staying out of foul trouble enough, feeling pretty good.
I think another key that I would add is they haven't done it a lot this year, but don't turn the basketball over. On the road, you can't afford to give teams early opportunities, live ball turnovers. They haven't done that a whole lot this year. They did a pretty good job of keeping the basketball in their hands and getting good looks on offense. That would be a bit of a concern. Can you continue to turn other teams over while also keeping control of the basketball, getting a lot of looks? And then, of course, yeah, you mentioned shooting the three ball well and also rebounding. You're in the Big Ten, everything's a little bit more physical. They're going to let a little bit more contact go, you would imagine. You never know with Big Ten officiating. You would hope they do. How do you rebound the basketball and get those second opportunities if you're not forcing turnovers as well? They're at plus 26 in the turnover differential this year.
That'll get the job done. Just that I'm this team has some concerns that could pop up on the road, specifically on the road, and I'm very curious to see how that works. So yep, Indiana will play at the Barn 7 p.m. in Minneapolis on Wednesday to open up the Big Ten slate. After that, Minnesota has Purdue at Mackey on the next Wednesday, December 10th. So yikes for the Golden Gophers there. Let us know your thoughts, your keys for this game for Indiana and Minnesota. Let us know your thoughts from the Bethune-Cookman game. All our socials at Twitter is House_Hoosier. Instagram is at House of Hoosier. And the phone line is there as well if you want to leave a voicemail. We'll look at comments on the YouTube. We'll look at comments on the reels that we post on our Instagram and our Twitter. And Indiana 7-0. Noah, final thoughts?
Team's fun. We'll find out a lot more Wednesday. I'm assuming we'll talk again after Wednesday, probably into Thursday before a very exciting weekend and first road test. And I'm excited to see how the team's going to bounce back, or not even bounce back, but continue to push towards the first conference game of the year.
Well, let us know all your thoughts. We'll see you after the Minnesota game, where Indiana will look to move to 8-0 on the season before definitely the toughest test of the year versus Louisville at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the afternoon of the Big Ten football championship game, where Indiana will be participating against Ohio State. And I will be there. I'm going to try and do the double, and that will be quite the Saturday in Indianapolis. For Noah, I'm Ian. We'll catch you next time.